So, hello, so nice you're watching this video. Today I have with me Cruce Cryer, and he is co-founder of Heartmath. And my name is Helene from Herleva, and I'm living in Holland. And I'm sharing the knowledge of the breath and the wisdom it has in us. And today Cruce will tell us so much more about the heart and the brain, and about Heartmath, because it's all so many years here. And he's a co-founder, so I asked him, sorry for my English, I asked him to join me and to tell us more about the heart and the brain and why it's important that our breath what it can do. So can you please tell us more about Heartmath and the start of it, the beginning of it?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on today. This is a delight to be here. I've actually been to the Netherlands, to Holland, for probably 20 times. And because in the early years of Heartmath, especially starting in the late 90s, we were doing a lot of work in the UK. Some of that work was with Anglo-Dutch companies like Shell and Unilever, which brought us over to the Netherlands. And then it grew and grew and grew in the Netherlands, thanks to someone who's become a very dear friend of mine, a man named Robert Erdbrink, who runs kind of the Heartmath work in the Benelux and Germany and Switzerland and that region of Europe. So I love the Netherlands. I've been there many times and love the people of the Netherlands as well. So this is fun for me. Heartmath began in 1991, and I was part of the original team assembled by the founder, who was a man named Doc Childry. Doc's still around, still very actively involved in Heartmath. So Heartmath is almost 30 years old now, amazingly. And when it started, part of what drew me to it, I had met the founder 10 years earlier, so I knew him, and I thought he was an amazing individual, highly intuitive, highly caring, highly interesting person. He had studied so many things in his life, and was kind of finding what's the cream out of everything, what's the most luscious and most important parts of the different things he would study. And he kept coming back to that anything he did with his heart seemed to work better than if he didn't do it with his heart. And that included a job, that included a relationship, that included a diet. If you do something with your heart, you're really going for it, it works better than if you don't. And he thought, well, what is that? Because in the last 150 years, science Western science, I should clarify, Western science tried to convince us that the heart was simply a pump, a fabulous machine, but completely unrelated to emotion, to feeling, to the beautiful values we associate with the heart, like love and courage and wisdom and intuition. The scientists were saying, no, that's sweet. That's a nice romantic notion from the past. But science knows it's a machine. It's an amazing machine. And that's really all it is. And we just, Doc Childry and those of us drawn to the work at the beginning all said, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. When you there's a reason you tell your child who's about to run out onto the football field, go play with your heart. There's a reason we do that. We're not thinking, go play with that amazing machine.
No.
That's not what you mean.
No.
When you say sing with your heart, I'm a singer. And when I was first learning to sing, I had a very good voice. I had good technique. And my teachers would say, when are you going to sing with your heart? You sound great, but we don't feel you. Your heart's not involved. And so those are just simple examples. But if you look at every major religion, every major spiritual tradition, the heart has been revered as a source of intelligence, a source of wisdom, of courage, of intuition, of compassion, the values we most aspire to in life. Brave heart, Richard the Lion-hearted. Yeah. Richard the lion with an incredible machine in his chest. No, that's not what it meant.
So much saying,
So much more than that. So I said, yes, this sounds great. I want to be involved in an organization that wants to look into this and wants to explore it scientifically.
Yeah.
because we believe that there is
Although
not
you were a singer and actor, I mean, you didn't have a education as a scientist.
not at all.
No.
I was actually drawn to science as a boy and through
Okay.
school, but never to do it professionally.
No.
I just found myself interested, and I had one brother in the family who's a doctor, and another brother who got his doctorate in education, who were very scientific. And
Mm.
I found myself even young, kind of gravitating to some of that, not again to want to be a doctor or be a scientist, but I was interested in it still, which is what drew me partly to HeartMath. Was we're going to do this through Western science. Okay, I like that idea,
Yeah.
because we realized that if we were going to create a system of tools that you're asking me to talk about a little bit today, that will be valued in the West, where data matters, where companies are run by engineers and run by
Definitely.
bankers and run by people who think completely about data and evidence. If we want to affect humanity, we better have our evidence.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we better have evidence through Western medicine, because in the West, that's what they will respect, right? So I said, this is a good strategy if it works. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work, not so good. And luckily it worked. And luckily we were able to discover any number of things about the heart and how influential it is in how the brain functions. The heart's giving enormous input to the brain every moment. And along the way, one of the things that we learned was just how connected our heart and rather our breath and our heart function and our brain function, how connected they are. That this is an integrated system.
Mm.
We try to separate it. We think the brain's everything and the heart's just a pump.
Yeah.
And the breath, who thinks about their breath? Oh,
Yeah.
those yoga people think
Yeah.
about the
The
breath.
yoga people.
Those people.
Yeah.
But why would I care about my breath? So
Yeah.
we think
A
in such
burnout
separate.
housewife who do yoga.
Right, exactly. So from the very beginning, the use of the breath became obvious to us as a significant way for people to get into what we began to call a state of coherence.
Mm.
Coherence.
Yeah.
And I can pause right there, but in terms of the background, to me, it was a lovely vision, which has manifested and remains a very strong organization, continues to grow. I have been all over the world since I stepped down in 2011 as the CEO. Been all over the world since then, to Africa and Asia and Europe many times. And the number of times, even young people come up to me, and here in New York, this happens regularly, who find out that I was one of the original
Mm.
creators of HeartMath, and they become like a fanboy or fangirl, like, oh my God, you were, oh,
Yeah.
they become reverent,
Yeah.
for me, because HeartMath has done such a good job of doing the research, getting it published in major journals, having associations with places like Stanford University, where I've been teaching for 24 years now, teaching HeartMath, teaching these breath techniques from HeartMath at
Yeah.
Stanford University. So there's a lot of credibility to what we learned and what we were able to create.
Yeah. And Bruce, of all the things you learned and you're teaching people, what is the main thing you always tell? What is so important to know? What so many people have no idea what is HeartMath anyway. So what is the main thing you would like to share? And you think, well, that this is something important to know.
Yes. Well, when I was saying a moment ago that there are all these examples, you tell your child, go play with your heart. My teachers would tell me, sing with your heart. Doc Childry discovered the things that he did with his heart worked
Mm.
better than if he did it the same thing without his heart. So we wanted to explore, well, what does that mean? It implies in all cases there's a positive feeling associated with doing it, playing with your heart, like
Yeah.
be enthusiastic, be positive, go out there. The singer, sing with your heart, sing with feeling, sing with emotion, sing like you love to do it and you want people to love it. So there's a feeling behind that with all these expressions. And so, but science wasn't buying the idea that the heart had anything to do with feelings. The science was saying it's all up there. All the emotions are up here. They're all getting formed in the brain. And I'd say, okay, I understand there's certain biochemical things that happen up there. Yes. When my daughter was born 33 and a half years ago, and her little face turned to me and I saw her, and when I was handed her minutes after she was born, I'm sorry, but where I felt the love was here. It was not there.
Yeah.
My brain couldn't kind of make sense of the whole thing. The brain was somewhat useless, actually, because it had been 21 hours in labor. It was a long, of course, my wife was in much harder position than I was. But I wasn't thinking clearly, but I was feeling like, oh my God. And that was here that I was feeling that. So a fundamental thing that HeartMath learned, and we were able to demonstrate this with tremendous amount of scientific evidence, is that our emotional state, wherever we are on the spectrum, loving, compassionate, fearful, angry, stressed out, peaceful, wherever we are on the spectrum, those emotions directly, moment by moment, affect how our heart is beating. Because our heart beats in different patterns that reflect stimuli that come from outside. Like, let's say right now I heard a siren outside, which unfortunately we hear fairly often. I'm fairly close to a hospital here. So that the hearing of the siren might cause a little bit of tension as soon as I hear it, right? I'm reminded, another coronavirus person probably. So you could feel that fear, right? Or that tension, whatever it may be. Well, we discovered in the early 90s that we could hook people up to heart monitoring equipment, and we could ask them to focus on different feelings. And in one particular study, we focused on the tracking or measuring what your heart was doing when you were frustrated compared to what your heart was doing when you were feeling appreciation. And what we discovered, and there's one graphic I would be happy to send you that expresses this so clearly, but I think it's easy to picture. Imagine a line that looks kind of all over the place, kind of like an earthquake was going on.
Yeah.
We discovered from testing hundreds of people that kind of chaotic rhythm, chaotic pattern is what the human heart looks like when we're feeling frustrated, angry, aggressive, really anxious, any of those things. It's like our body is, that's going on. And that's reflected, even if we're not extreme and actually shaking, but just the internal tension causes the pattern of our heart to look very disordered, very incoherent, not coherent. But then we also said, well, what if someone is feeling a positive emotion like appreciation, like the beautiful flowers in the background in your office there, Helene? I don't know what they are. They're lovely, whatever
Lavender.
they are.
Yeah.
What are they?
Lavender.
Lavender. So it smells lovely in there as well as the beauty. So the positive feeling of appreciating that is in the view, and for you even the smell probably, let alone the beauty of it. So the feeling of appreciation for whatever the cause, the same person whose heart goes like that when they're feeling frustrated, their heart goes like this when they're feeling appreciation, or feeling love, or feeling compassion, or feeling peace. In fact, peace is not like that. Peace is like these nice, even, smooth waves, just like appreciation was these nice, even, smooth waves, just like love was nice, smooth waves. Some of them are higher energy, like love might be a higher energy wave and peace might be a lower energy wave, but both of them look really smooth. And so we were the first ones to discover that even was a thing that was even true in the human body.
Yeah.
And that was huge.
Yeah, you proved actually what the yogi people already knew, because they experienced it, they feel it, they felt it. The normal human being already felt it, but HeartMath proved more that it was really something happening with our heart rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of what we found, and this ties in so beautifully to your work and to the questions around the breath, is that we discovered that in Western science, there is something called the respiratory sinus arrhythmia. No one needs to remember that term, but RSA is respiratory sinus arrhythmia. And the essence of that is that the optimal breathing pattern, the optimal rate for the human system, each of us could be slightly different because we're unique individuals, but in general, the optimal breathing pattern is a 5-second in breath and a 5-second out breath. So inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5 is the optimal rate in general. For some, depending upon if we're very old and having trouble with our respiration, that would be too slow. You might need to do 3 seconds and 3 seconds. If we're a marathon runner, that could be too fast because, and our respiration is huge because our lung capacity is huge. We might want to do longer than 5. That would feel more natural.
Yeah.
But in general, 5 seconds is called the 10-second cycle, RSA. We didn't discover that. We didn't invent that. That was a known fact in medical science. And so we said, therefore, since that's known about human physiology, therefore, let's use that pattern. And we began to say, this is part of how we will introduce people to their heart, is to first teach them to just breathe in a steady rhythm. And in fact, this rhythm we're going to teach you is the natural rhythm that your body wants to breathe in anyway. We're not even teaching you something strange. We're not asking you to hold your breath or breathe different lengths, all of which are valuable practices. But for the simplicity of what we wanted to do, we just said, just do what science tells us. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That's efficient. That's simple. It's not too long for most people. It's not too short for most people. It's a good average. And if you do that as part of shifting your emotional state, which is why appreciation, gratitude, peacefulness, love, compassion are so important. All those are so important. That combined with steadying and deepening and steadying the breath combines to create this coherence. Just breathing, just the 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out will create that smooth rhythm in the heart. But that does not guarantee that your perception is necessarily changing. And why that matters from a HeartMath perspective is that many of our stresses are a result of how we're perceiving the situation. So we're seeing the traffic. We're driving down the road. Suddenly, all the cars are stopping, and we're stuck in traffic. And so, for some of us, our first thought is, "Oh no, I'm going to be late for the meeting," or "Oh no, I'm going to be late getting home." Other people, "Great, I'm going to be late for the meeting. I didn't want to go to that meeting anyway. Great, I can listen to a book on tape. Great, I want to hear Beethoven right now. Oh no, I'm going to be late for the meeting. Oh no, I hate it why doesn't the government build us bigger roads? Oh no, so we have a choice in that moment. And HeartMath came along and said, one of the ways to move out of a stressful reaction is to say, okay, let's shift my state right now. Your frustration is not going to get the traffic moving. You can blow your horn as loud as you can, and the 150 cars in front of you probably still can't move. But your body has just aged by that stress reaction that you're going through over a situation you can't change. But what you can change is your perception. You say, okay, I don't love being in traffic now, but why stress myself over something I can't change? So a way to do that is to breathe in that steady rhythm and try to find the feeling of appreciation or the feeling of love. And so the feeling combined with the breath is what can cause our perception to then change. And then we can say, oh, why am I wasting energy? Why am I aging myself sitting in traffic when I could be listening to a book, listening to wonderful music that I love, listening to a podcast, whatever. I could do something that would keep me positive instead of going down into negativity. So the breath combined with the positive feeling not only is good for the body, for all the reasons we know breath work is so helpful, but it's great for our mindset because we're shifting perception out of the stress physiology, as Dr. Joe Dispenza loves to call it, into life's okay. This is not gonna kill me, this traffic that I'm currently in. I'm not gonna die from this.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate something right now.
Yeah. So it helped people with emotions and with their thoughts, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point to bring in, because a lot of people say, well, it's what thoughts trigger the emotions. We'll say sometimes you can have an immediate emotional reaction to something and not have the thought about it. You just feel that kind of instant kind of gut feeling, and a lot of people trust that. Oh, I had that gut feeling, and then you kind of think about what it is later. Wherever it starts, it's a cycle. Emotions, thoughts often trigger feelings. Feelings often trigger other thoughts. So it's a loop. So the part of the point of HeartMath is we're stuck in a lot of loops
Yeah.
of negative thoughts, feeding negative emotions, feeding negative thoughts, feeding and being supported by physiology that's quote negative, meaning physiology we would need if it was a life and death battle.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a fight, flight, or freeze mode, but it's traffic, but it's just an email from someone you don't like, but you don't need to produce all these biochemicals in your body like you're under, they have the virus and they're walking in and they're going to cough all over you. No, that's not what's going on. Relax, just calm down.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of it.
Yeah. And what did it bring it you personally, actually? I was curious about that.
Oh my, so many times I've told the story that when a part of how I learned a basic aspect of HeartMath that we're talking about right now was by practicing a lot. And so this idea of, we always teach that you want to bring your attention to the area of your heart as part of a HeartMath tool, as a part of creating heart coherence. Because as soon as you bring your attention here, that brings energy here. And when you bring energy here, that gives you more control over those patterns that you didn't even think you or didn't even know that you had, that are chaotic when you're stressed out and smooth when you're loving what you're doing. Who knew that before HeartMath came along to teach us all this? It wasn't known. It wasn't a thing until our work, actually. So it's great to know that. So I just lost my train of thought of where I wanted to go. What was the thing you just had asked me prior to that?
What was your personal benefit?
Personal benefit, yes. So we always encourage people to start by bringing the attention to the heart, because that starts to activate the system of the heart, which is a marvelous, miraculous system. There's an electrical component of the heart, which is 60 times stronger than what the brain produces electrically. There's a magnetic component of the heart, which produces a very powerful field, which is 5,000 times stronger than what the brain is producing. And then there's the rhythmic dimension of the heart, which we know we can feel a heartbeat all over our body. And name another organ that you can feel beating.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't name one.
Yeah.
So we have it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So we were realizing this, and I thought at the beginning, I thought, I want to get good at this, because I was somebody, I'd been an athlete, I'd been a dancer, I'd been a singer. I had been involved in various things at a fairly high level. You had to practice to get good at. You might have had a great voice, you might have a great body for dance, but if you didn't practice every day, you weren't going to get better.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, same is true here, because I never learned this, so I'm going to have to practice this. It's not just this magical thing. One time you feel appreciation and all your stresses for the rest of your life are gone.
It's
No,
gone.
it's something to practice, like any skill that we're learning. And so I was very kind of, okay, great, I'll practice. So this was back in the early 90s, and I had one of those watches back when the electronic watches were coming out, and everybody was running and doing stuff and timing everything. And so I had one of those watches, and it would go off. I could set it to go off every hour, and it would just make a little beeping sound. And so I did that for months, and every hour it would go off. I could be in a meeting and my watch would go off, but I didn't care. And I was going to practice a HeartMath technique every time that went off.
Yeah. And what
And
did you
so,
do? What did you do when the beep went off?
literally what I did. So I brought my attention to my heart, to this area. I began to breathe for 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. I kept doing that. And then I focused on something that I loved, or something that I appreciated. I kept the focus here. I kept breathing in and out for about 5 seconds each way, imagining it coming in and out through the heart, and then would feel something that I love. Now, when I was first doing this, my daughter was about 3
Yeah.
or 4. She was at an age that was just so cute. And I, had a deep love for her before she was even born. And so most of the time when I would practice HeartMath, I would, I would focus here, I would breathe, and I'd keep the breathing going. And then I'd think about my little darling, amazing Alicia. And the only time that didn't work was when she was the source of my stress, in which case I would have to think about, a tropical beach somewhere.
Yeah.
But most of the time, because she just made my heart sing so much, I would focus on her. And that got me into my heart. I could feel my heart and feel that appreciation. And I would do that, many times a day, not when there was stress necessarily, just to practice that process.
Yeah.
And so before long, that felt normal. It felt natural to do that. It felt like this is so much better to feel this way than not.
Yeah.
And it became kind of automatic.
Yeah.
So what I would notice is that two things happen. One is that I became more sensitive to what I was really feeling inside, because it's easy to ignore, right? You're busy, you got deadlines. The economy in the United States is in total meltdown, the worst in 100 years. I mean, it's like unbelievable what's happening here. A lot to be worried about. So taking those moments to breathe in appreciation and pause our system has been really, really important now. But my point was that it became automatic, so that as soon as I would kind of notice some tension or some anxiety, I would naturally kind of bring the focus here, breathe here, and there we go. You're letting out some of that tension, but you're not just letting it out. You're also drawing attention to the fact that there's something that you need to resolve, some fear that you need to address, some anxiety you need to take action on, some peace you need to find, something to change, because you don't want to stay in that too long. But part of what this increased focus on the breath and what's going on in the body means we can become more aware of what really is going on beneath our conscious mind. And that's so helpful. And so now, like 30 years after I first started doing that, I still have stress. I mean, it's hard not to in a situation like this, and especially I naturally am very in tune with other people and very aware of how the enormous strain that many people are feeling right now. And it's hard not to be kind of, stressed by all the stress around, right? And so it's even more important at a time like this to take those moments to breathe in and realize one of your best allies of all is this system that is designed into us. The heart and the brain and the breath are designed to work in harmony, and they can quite easily. It's not hard. No. That's what the yogis have known for thousands of years, and so many.
Now it's scientifically proven.
Yeah, and so all these Westerners are like, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for proving it. Now my mind can kind of shut up, and I can just do this."
Yeah, that's really good. And that's good, because it helps a lot of other people then who otherwise would not have been interested.
Exactly.
And now they are.
Exactly.
So that's really good. Yeah. And a lot of those things, they start with athletes because they're always busy with competing and getting better, of course. So they want to try things, and that's good then. It's also with the Wim Hof method. A lot of sport people use it, and then I think, oh, I'm getting better. And then other people think, okay, it's not that stupid. It works. So that's good with this as well.
We HeartMath, because it's been around now for over 25, 28 years. We've had an opportunity to work with a lot of people in special operations aspects of the military, sharpshooting teams. The Dutch, I think it was the Dutch pentathlon team, picked up on HeartMath and heart coherence early on, like 15 years ago maybe. And all these are cases where, especially like people who are shooting and marksmen, they have to be incredibly steady to be able to hit the target.
Yeah.
And they already practice techniques to slow down their heart rate, because a high heart rate is going to cause a disturbance as they try to shoot at that target. So they already understood that. And with people that are the special operations people, that, you know, the Navy SEALs and the, you know, these people that do crazy heroic things and have to be not only physically fit, but have to be mentally very strong and emotionally very resilient.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them that really got into HeartMath, because, you know, these people are often kind of like, we don't care where the technique comes from. This could be literally voodoo. And if it gave us some kind of an edge in the work that we do, we will do it. We do not, we want the evidence, yes, but we are so open to
Yeah.
trying, finding anything that could help us. We don't care really the source. Just teach us, let us try it. And so we have quite a few people like that really got into it, because they realized this is a quick way to learn how to regulate the emotional, the out of control emotions that are easy to have, especially right now.
Yeah.
And so, and this is not, it's not to suppress those emotions, not at all.
No.
But it's to channel them and to balance them and to let us see what's going on so we can make some changes. But we have to gain some control first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's like the old thing about flying. Adults put on the mask first, and then you can take care of your child. If you're panicking,
Yeah.
you can't take care of, so you, like, job number one, take care of the system. Now I can, but it's not, but it's also job number one, train the system. So if suddenly something happens, you already know how to get to that state.
Yeah.
You're not just learning it on the fly. You've been practicing.
Yeah.
So, okay, here we are. Okay, now I know what to do.
Yeah.
Come here, focus in the heart, breathe in that steady rhythm. You got the best friend in the world right there inside, and just, it loves to breathe like that.
Yeah.
That's what it loves to do. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I also think that's because you said earlier you had your telephone app of your watch every hour with a beep, just to train yourself. I think that's so important to get some sort of discipline to train yourself, although there's nothing wrong in the moment.
Yes, exactly.
And when, a lot of people ask me when they are when they have anxiety and stress problems, and then they want something for that, and then I always encourage them. So when they fix that they continue, because we all know something else will also happen again. And when you continue to be aware and to have something what you can use when it's happening again, it's leaving quicker. And you
Exactly.
solve it so much quicker, and it stresses you mostly of the time less. Yeah. And so the five counting is the mostly used thing for you in to do at home.
Well, you know, to be honest, now, because it's been so long of practicing, I don't necessarily literally count to five. I don't need to. I just, I feel how good a longer breath than normal feels.
Yeah.
So I'm not literally counting to five usually.
No.
Um,
I like it that you say it, because I don't know either. And I also have seen a lot of people who count, they go up to in their head and then they lose to feel. So
yes,
they ask,
exactly.
oh, Helene, how many counts? And then I said, well, I'm also a bit, with counting, I think it can help a lot, but I also think I always say I want that you connect with your body and just slow your breath just a little bit, not too much, because then you go like a big exhale or inhale, just to slow down. How do you see that now? In the same way, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think when you're training people at the start, I mean, it's different now because there are that many more people that have been through yoga and been through breath work and Kundalini yoga, etc. But it's still, to me, it's very helpful to get people thinking in terms of there's a set length of time that is optimal, and then still letting them do what they're going to do. So I don't tell people to count, literally count to 5 every single time you do this, but take a breath that's about 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. Oftentimes when I'm teaching this idea, I'm also teaching it in the context of the HeartMath technology, one of the HeartMath biofeedback technologies. HeartMath has created, as you may know, several different technologies. One that's based in your computer, mostly for health professionals to use with patients. Another that's a device that you hold and it can track your heart through your ear. And the third one that's now the most popular, that's an app that lives in your iPhone or your Google phone. And the app requires a sensor which picks up your heartbeat from your ear and then feeds that information into the app. And the app shows you what's going on in the pattern of your heart. And so with the apps, no matter where you're looking on the app, there's some guide that's kind of showing you how long is the optimal time to breathe in and breathe out. So you're watching kind of a picture of breathe in and then breathe out. So you're following a prompt on a screen, which is different than counting in your head.
Yeah.
So it is a much more you're just doing it physically, and you're also watching something. So you're one of the best is a beautiful mandala that's expanding for 5 seconds and contracting for 5 seconds. So it's easy to watch that beautiful image and breathe in as it expands because you're expanding, and breathe out as it contracts because you're contracting. So it's the visual prompts are very helpful instead of like you say, you don't want people just thinking 5, 5, 5 all the time. That's way too much in the head. You want them to feel it in the body for sure. Yeah. So
I will
the
also
technology is
put the link to HeartMath in the comment section on the YouTube. That's easy, I think, for a lot of people.
For sure.
You know that, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's a lot of time already I asked from you. So I'll thank you very much, Bruce, for your time and your knowledge. And yeah, thank you very much. And maybe we talk to each other later on again. And
my pleasure.
Viewers, thank you for watching, and I hope you you try it at home. You can actually. It's really good to try it at home. And when you liked the video, please click like and subscribe. Would be nice. And follow Bruce. And I also put a link in here because you're in the HDG.
Yes.
And I will link that as well here under.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you
so
watching.
much, Elaine.
Okay. Bye.